Good morning, everyone. Um, Early on Sunday morning, the 19th, as I record this lecture. Um, Interesting topic this week. I love it. Not an expert in it, but I've done some reading and practice of late in data visualization. Um, I'm trying to teach myself Tableau and Power BI, which are not exactly cutting edge, bleeding edge, of course, but anyway, the topic this week is data visualization. That's our overarching uh, topic of discussion and for your research paper. So in this lecture, I'll go over. I just finished grading everything from week 2 yesterday. Week 3 stuff isn't due yet, so I wanted to give some overall impressions and um, recommended improvements as a group. And then we'll go over data visualization fundamentals. There's so much information out there. I'm not going to bore you with my reading of a textbook or something on data visualization. I've posted some really interesting links for you to go into to give you some ideas of what you might want to talk about in the discussion and write about in your research paper. And then I wanted to continue the dissertation foundations, sharing some content I had recorded previously. This time about the literature review, because your week 4 paper is basically a literature review since you're not conducting new research. You're just writing about other people's recommendations and findings. So that's a literature review. So we got some information on that out there, a half an hour video and some sample literature reviews. And then I'll go over this week's assignments and we will be done. So I do not expect this to be a lengthy lecture. Okay, so guys, going back to week 2 discussion and week 2 research papers. So the research papers, I saw about half of you started with the same paper. That's available on Course Hero or study.com or whatever. This is a widely publicized problem within the faculty and within this this program is um, PhD IT students at Cumberland's. Unfortunately, as a group, are relying far too heavily on previous work and not starting from scratch with their own assignments. And I saw about half of them that were all the same paper, um, reworded, of course, and often poorly. Um, uh, when you start with something else um, and then try and force it to fit, it often turns out clumsy, and that's what happened with a lot of papers, and a lot of lack of focus. There were a couple of things I wanted you to write about in a very short paper, and some of you just presented the same overview of big data. This is more than half the papers. Um, the same overview of big data and data analysis and and whatnot, and then maybe one paragraph on smart cities. And a lot of you, when I used the rubric, score came out pretty low. I bumped a lot of people up to 60 out of 80, which if you got a 60 out of 80, um, please treat that as a generous warning, because most of those 60s should have been zeros, really. Um, you're just not the if you got a 60, you're not going about this right. You're trying to fill the square. You're trying to look like you're writing a paper without really writing a paper and doing the work and that it takes to do it. So please take that week 2 60 as a friendly warning, and do your own work. Start from a clean template and actually construct your own story, your own paper, your own logic flow, and you'll do much better. I'm still seeing what looks like article spinner to me. Um, if it's not the output of an actual paraphrasing website, then some of you are using the thesaurus and you don't really have a command of the word you're choosing or something. Because I'm seeing just um, incomprehensible language in some of the papers. So again, write your own work. Yes, there will be grammatical issues. Yes, there might be a little bit of, subject verb agreement or whatever little stuff. But if you start from scratch and you write your own outline, as I talked about in my academic writing for software engineers, systems engineers, start with an outline so that you've got a topic sentence for each paragraph so that you're not bouncing back and forth. If you start from your own outline and you write your own paper, you'll do fine. It's this last bullet here. Many of you are taking the Dr. Frankenstein approach to assembling your paper from the dead body parts of other papers. I can see it. Now, like maybe I can't necessarily prove it, but this isn't a court of law. This is a PhD level class. And I can see where you are bringing in sections of other stuff and rewording it and gluing it together. And then you're trying to, like, just like Dr. Frankenstein, raise the dead body up to the sky and hope lightning will bring life to this thing you've created. And it's not working, guys. It's not working for you. Okay. So stop with the article spinning. Start, with using another paper as the baseline for your paper. Some of you one step ahead of that would, like, basically just do a little book report of a single article, like a page. You would summarize another article in a page of your 3-page paper. And that's just relying too heavily on your sources. You need to tell a story. This is common. This is middle school writing techniques. You need to tell a logical story with flow in your own words. So uh, that's the research paper. And then the discussion board, same thing. Guys, the discussion board is supposed to be the equivalent of, you know, talking with your colleagues in the conference room before the staff meeting starts, maybe. Um, or in perhaps an outdated metaphor, it's standing around the water cooler talking shop. That's what the discussion boards are supposed to be. So the tone of your discussion should be professional and collegial, but not pontificating or lecturing. And everybody that uh, you know, clicks on somebody and says, greetings, that was a great post, I want to add a few points, and then starts typing. None of you have ever added anything to the discussion. Certainly not anything that sounds like it's coming from your own experience. You're just filling the square. And I'm going to have to ask you to take a different approach, to actually discuss these topics, really, from your own thoughts, opinions, observations, things that you've learned. If you want to say, hey, Jim, great post. It made me think of this article I read last week. Here's a link. Do you think this might help you at work? That's what a discussion board is about. The research papers are where you practice your academic tone, no personal pronouns, all of that sort of thing. But your discussions need to be discussions. And nobody wants you to add a few points about, the obvious, Captain Obvious. Um, uh, that doesn't add anything to what they said. It might, you know, throw some keywords out there, but yeah, let's keep going. Improving, improving, improving. I think the Python discussion had some improvement. Python versus R. So I want to, no kidding, everyone move in the direction uh, where you are discussing these topics with each other, not lecturing each other on obvious, basic information. Okay, so no more. I want to add a few points. Don't even use that frame. Don't even use that as your wind up for the throw. Okay, thank you very much. All right, enough about the past. Let's move on to the future. Okay, data visualization, huge field. You could line the shelves of your office with books and research articles and everything that have been conducted on visualization. Most of the or a lot of foundational psychological research has been accomplished and cited so many times, and you'll see that out on Google Scholar. Um, Articles that have been cited 10,000 times because they're the first people that used a certain visualization principle or technique or psychological aspect. But at its heart, visualization turns numbers into representations the human brain can understand, can absorb the meaning more quickly. And there's an American idiom, colloquialism. Maybe it's a cliche. A picture's worth 1,000 words. You might have heard that. Picture is worth 1,000 words. And in our in the article from the syllabus, which is out there, um, data visualization techniques are authenticated scientifically as thousand times, not 1,000 times, as thousand times reliable rather than textual representation, which I don't know that the article was necessarily written in English. Might have been translated anyway, but you get the you get the gist of it. That text on your screen right now in black is kind of what I'm talking about. What it sounds like an article spinner. You know, if you mean to say a picture's worth 1,000 words, say a picture's worth 1,000 words. Don't come up, don't change around some elaborate, complex, and grammatically incorrect rewording of it. So anyway, lots of resources out there in the week 4 folder for you this week. Not just that article, although it was an examination of data visualization with R, with R and Python, which they both have fully robust visualization libraries that you can feed data into and come up with some really cool representations of the data that you never would have seen. Your brain just gets swamped in ones and zeros and numbers and even words. Um, okay, next bullet. There are many, 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 many examples of visualizing data that get put in front of you. I included a few here just to kind of whet your appetite for what you might want to write about. But like I used a word cloud in my dissertation. It is a kind of a qualitative text mining representation of the density of keywords in a bunch of text. From data visualizations run the gamut from the very most simple and mundane and easy to understand, all the way up to these new, virtual reality. I included a good article from I think it was from ZDNet, on interacting with and seeing data in real time, big data in real time using virtual reality. So you could literally represent the data as anything. Like your supply chain could literally be trucks that you see out in the distance coming, and you can kind of go, oh, we got a massive delivery about to happen, perfect storm, and you can see these things coming together. You could visualize consumables in machinery that's about to cause a maintenance issue, um, all by looking, at your factory floor. Just fascinating, the way you can, using more advanced techniques, interact visually, and other senses they can even have tones to represent data while your mind is absorbing data visually. Uh, yeah, it's a fascinating field. Lots of different examples out there for you to write about this week and for you to discuss. Um, the first maps, of the coastline. That's a representation of data. The data is latitude and longitude and altitude above sea level, or even contours of the bottom, depth below the sea level. So just maps, and then you got something like Google Maps. Think of all the data, the underlying data that feeds Google Maps. You've got the actual, the dimensions of the route, the different businesses, what's in those businesses, what type of business is that. You've even got like 3D representations of the buildings. If you zoom in close enough on Google Maps, you'll get what are I guess derived from satellite imagery, 3D representations of the buildings, and then you can layer on different layers of data, whether it's traffic analysis or um, terrain contours, topographical contours. You can layer on, um, you can search for different types of businesses. So there's just many ways for that just a simple map can represent the world around us. And then, of course, everybody, we all know about, pie charts and line charts and bar charts and histograms and, scatter plots to show correlation between two variables and box plots that show, the, the distribution of data, where the center is, how broad, how um, dispersed the data is within the distribution. There's all of these simple charts that you can do in Excel, and then there's cutting edge. So what I'm kind of hoping you'll write about this week is a little bit more, what's coming up in a certain domain. If it's financial data, could be ERP, supply chain data, could be social media data, could be cybersecurity data, network traffic, and what's coming up in visualization. What are researchers doing to expand the state of the art? That's oh, if you want to go back to some of the basics, I included a link to a tutorial on Gestalt principles, which are kind of the underlying psychological rules of the human mind and perception. Um, there's a couple of tools. There's like an interactive one that kind of shows you, uh, um, similarity and combining and um, contrast and whatnot. So check that out. That's those Gestalt principles. If you move forward with anything in data visualization, you see those as kind of underlying theoretical baselines. So good to know about. There's a lot of tools out there. Posted a link to nine. If you just go with straight like business dashboards, um, Tableau is still the Gartner leader in that, and Microsoft Power BI is up there. But there's a lot of other ones. There are open source, all the open source Python and R libraries. There's JavaScript, um, JavaScript libraries that do data visualization for web developers, that you can just call these libraries. Saw some really cool stuff on a website called Data Driven Documents, like D3. Um, there's a yeah, lots and lots and lots of tools out there because there's so much data, and the numbers themselves just flying by don't do anything for people. So you've got to make sense in visualizations, and then there's also something out there called data storytelling, where no kidding, you make sense and you present your case using the data, almost like a lawyer presents a case for a criminal trial. There's this evidence is built upon this evidence, this fact supports this fact, and the conclusion we must all draw is not guilty or guilty. That's kind of what data storytelling is, and it's its own art. And then that last bullet, yeah, you're one of the things you'll see um, probably in virtually any area that you do your research paper on is the interactivity of the data that lets people kind of reach in and adjust parameters almost like a simulation, where if you reach in, you can literally in the visualization you can slide a bar or turn a knob and adjust one parameter, and it will show the impact on the rest on the visualization based on how that data interacts. So interactivity is is definitely a cutting edge thing that could wind up um, in your paper. But remember, pick a type of data. Okay, that's what I'm hoping for you to be specific here um, when you do your research paper. Okay, so just yeah, foundations of data visualization. There's background information in there in the classroom. Um, Recently, here's just an example. You'd hear people talking about the majority of counties um, voted say Republican in 2016, and it was just just the urban centers that voted for Clinton. And you see these representations that show that you can see rural areas where not a lot of people live in the Midwest, the central United States, but then like Seattle, the west coast of California, New England, the DC area. These areas are all highlighted. Miami, Dade County, Central Florida. These are almost all exclusively. These counties are almost all metropolitan centers. So that shows you the results visually, maybe a little closer. And there are better maps than this one out there that show the county by county results of the 2016 election. But that tells the story a little more uh, graphically, visually than just reading the names of the counties and the percentage of for one party or the next. And then here's one. There's actually a device you can put on a website. Maybe if you guys are web developers, you know all about these things, and it tracks the human eyeball and what on your website attracts their eye, and then you can do some tweaking um, to get the human eye to go where you want it to go. And there's ongoing research on this, um, tracking the human eye and um, how to attract people to look at what you want them to look at. So yeah, you can see that upper left corner, the human eye, depending on culture, starts at the upper left and reads left to right. There are other languages, other cultures, other languages that read right to left. So depending on your audience, the medical community may look at data differently than the financial community because of the way they're used to absorbing information visually. So within those specific domains, you'll see research that highlights the different way different types of people, different professions consume visual information and make assumptions and whatnot. So yeah, heat maps, and there's lots of different examples of heat maps um, to show the density of a certain phenomenon in geographic space. You'll see that often. And then network travel, and the size of the dots here are the number of originating flights, and they've shifted the color so that it doesn't just show up as one giant red, you know, line diagram. They've segmented the latitude by color. But there are lots of network diagrams like this. You can see, internet network traffic originating uh, from here to there. People in Asia hitting a web server in North America. And we're getting to be so distributed now, and with database replication and mirroring sites and everything, that a lot of times that data is available especially for the larger content carriers, content providers. They're replicated anywhere near you have a density of population. So, but good old airplanes got to get you from here to there. You can see the larger aircraft hubs um, uh, in the world. East Coast of the United States, Central Europe, the many metropolises in China, Japan, South Korea. So yeah, that's a visual representation. Now I could show you this in a spreadsheet, and it would show the airline code and the departure time of a given flight, and it would just get lost if you didn't visualize it. So yeah, I mean, I think everybody knows this. That data visualization is enormous, and the only way for the human mind to make sense out of uh, even the anything approaching a large data set, let alone big data. Okay, so your research paper this week, I'd like for you to talk about a type of visualization or a type of data. Get get that? Um, and but then how are researchers extending the state of the art? Okay, so be specific to something. VR interactive data. Visualizing big data with virtual reality. Okay, if that's your topic, where are we going with it? Remember, 3 to 5 pages. Okay, so the background on I don't want any background on data visualization. Really, data visualization is important. Got it. 3 to 5 pages on your particular topic, please. Um, and certainly no, I don't want to hear anything about big data analysis, unless that is what your technique is. And even then, I don't need to know that big data is the 5 V's, and organizations are making use of it. And yeah, I got all that. I don't need any Frankenstein body parts. I need new original content on your area of data visualization or the type of data, and then how are we moving forward in visualizing that type of data? Again, it could be financial, social media, it could be cybersecurity, could be something else that you know I'm not even thinking of. Surprise me! It'd be great to get some research papers in areas that interest you, um, that maybe you work with it professionally, or that you've seen personally. Um, you know, Sky's the limit. Just choose a good topic, and if you have any trouble, email me. If you don't think you know what I'm looking for, or you're worried, um, shoot me an email. I'm not I'm not looking for you to find one article that you can then paraphrase and summarize. I want you to have a topic, and then I want you to go at it using 3 to 5 references. Okay, but yeah, really light on the background and move straight into your topic. Now, as I've always said, if you can somehow move this towards your chosen dissertation topic, that would be good. If you want to figure out if there will be, like I did, a word cloud, in my um, dissertation, just to show the density of words related to enterprise social media. Um, so if you can somehow, use this assignment to advance your thoughts and direction on your dissertation, then that's great. I always encourage that. So there are the instructions for the research paper. I give you just a little bit more in the actual uh, assignment instructions there, but That's what I'm looking for, 3 to 5 pages. And I've included the APA paper. Some of you are not writing in APA format. Um, not so please, yeah, use that template. Okay. You'll notice that it's full of Latin. You're going to want to remove that and replace it with your own. And you don't have to use any particular level of headers. Very often I would only use level one headings. Um, the big sections, that are um, bold and in the center, centered on the page, and then one level of heading is enough to organize a 3 to 5 page paper. You don't need 3 levels of headers in such a short paper. And no abstract necessary. No abstract necessary in a short paper like this, please. Okay, that's the paper. And then the discussion is even easier. So there's no temptation to just, stuff from the internet. Okay. This is talk to us. What do you look for in a robust visualization, something that's accurate and interesting and conveys good information. The more information in a single visualization without confusing the issue, to me, is a good thing to look for. Problems I've seen are like in scale, um, not including all the data, not including certain factors, causality. So that's good. Let's have a good discussion on visualizing data and what makes a good one, what makes a bad one. And this can be something your colleague prepared at work. This can be something you prepared. This can be something you saw on television. We're all getting every day. You watch the news, you're getting data visualization. You cannot watch a news broadcast without seeing a visualization of the stock market for the day, the financial markets, the COVID case count, death counts, hospitalization rates, infection rates. You can't go a day without a data visualization. So let's talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of data visualizations, and that might help feed your paper, your research paper. So both related. All right. As always, shoot me an email with any questions or concerns. But let's not have a repeat of week 2. Okay. Bottom line, let's all vow to do better. All right. I will see you guys in the classroom.